I'd like to call to order the regular town commission meeting of February the 27th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Tompeck,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Here.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Here.
Thank you. First up is proclamations and presentations, and we have a swearing in of a new officer, Joseph Farina. Chief?
I apologize, I just realized my phones were ringing. If you would like to step up. So today we have the honor of swearing in one of our newest officers. He actually started with us on the 20th, and this is Joseph, also known as Joey Arena. Mr. Arena retired from policing in Georgia as a sergeant, and he and his wife moved to Florida in 2022. He has a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership and criminal justice, and he completed his original police academy back in 2004. He went ahead and passed the state exam here in Florida in 2001, and we are very pleased to have him here. By all accounts, his references describe him as knowledgeable, compassionate, calm under pressure, going above and beyond for people, and these are all qualities that we look for in our officers. Already what I've seen so much of over the last week, and sometimes one of the greater things about hiring, we'll call some of us a little bit more senior, is that they're used to talking to people, especially after so many years on the job, and that's such a large part of being a police officer here in Sewell's Point is community engagement and being able to meet and speak with people. Today, he's here with his wife, Susan, and as a department, we're grateful to have her here as well today, supporting Joey in his second police career, and understanding that at all of our town events, you're always welcome to be here, and we love to have our family members support their officers by whether you join them here for meals or just come to different town events. We love to see you here. So the town of Sewell's Point would like to thank him, and we're going to go ahead and do his oath of office and his badge pitting. Just slide this out of the way a little bit. Okay, if you would raise your right hand, please. I
Joseph Arena,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will, during my continuance in office,
that I will, during my continuance in office,
to the best of my skill and ability,
to the best of my skill and ability,
faithfully discharge all duties
faithfully discharge all duties
which may be required of
which may be required of
me. And that I will in all cases
and that I will, in all cases,
conform to the ordinances of the town of Sewell's Point
conform to the ordinances of the town of Sewell's Point
and its police regulations.
and its police regulations.
I will, without partiality,
I will, without partiality,
faithfully enforce all the ordinances
faithfully enforce all of the ordinances
of the town of Sewell's Point
of the town of Sewell's Point
and all laws,
and all laws,
and will uphold both the Constitution of the state of Florida
and will uphold both the Constitution of the state of Florida
and the Constitution of the United States of America.
and the Constitution of the United States of America.
Next is your loyalty oath. I,
I, Joseph Arena,
a citizen of the state of Florida
a citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
and being employed by
being employed by
or an official of
or an official of
the town of Sewell's Point,
the town of Sewell's Point,
and a recipient of public funds
and a recipient of public funds,
as such employee or officer,
as such employee or officer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United
and the
States
state of Florida.
and the state of Florida.
Congratulations. Thank you.
You look like you've done this.
I was going to say, she's a pro, man. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously, we're thrilled to have you, genuinely.
I appreciate it. Thank you very
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, that brings us to public comment. I have no forms.
No, sir.
Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck.
Yes. That brings us to the consent agenda. Any questions? Would you pull any items, or do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as presented?
I'll second. I'm sorry.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender.
Yes.
Okay, we have no public hearings on ordinances, no resolutions, no old business, and we have new business. Second Amendment for creation of the Martin County Metropolitan Planning. Mr. Daniels.
Yes, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Beth Beltran, who is the Director,
The MPO administrator.
NPO Administrator, I'm sorry.
Now, the MPO administrator, MPO stands for Metropolitan Planning Organization. And I am here with Anthony O'Neill Butler, who is a member of my team. And the MPO is the Transportation Planning Agency for Martin County. It was formed in 1993, and it's put in place by federal mandate. If an urbanized area is over 50,000 and wants to get federal and state transportation funds, it has to be governed in some way by an MPO board. Our board is made up of 8 voting members at this time. Sewell's Point was one of the original signatories to the interlocal agreement forming the MPO. We're fortunate to have Commissioner Mayfield as the representative from Sewell's Point. We also have a representative from, 2 representatives from the city of Stewart, 4 county commissioners, and we have a voting member from the village of Indiantown as well. The second amendment that I'm coming to you with this evening is to add a 5th county commissioner. We had a first amendment a few years ago, back in 2019, when the village of Indiantown became incorporated. The first amendment came before you all at that time as well, to ask that the village of Indiantown be a voting member to that board, which they are now. And then, and this amendment is to add the District 5 commissioner, which is the only commissioner that's not currently, county commissioner that's not currently on the board. Usually typically the makeup of the board is based on the population, and or if there's another reason why an additional commissioner needs to be on the board, like in this case, it's because of the development that's in that area. District 5 is kind of the north central part of the area, and it's actually not in our county, it's in the county to the north of us that's going to impact our roadways. So when the board members are making decisions in the next few years, they're going to be talking about traffic that's kind of coming in from the northern county. And with that, the state has agreed that it's reasonable to have a 5th commissioner on the board. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about the MPO or about this process. And I was about to say, I am recommending, hopefully staff is recommending approval of this second amendment.
Is there any other change other than that one change?
No, just to add the 5th commissioner on the MPO board.
Any question? Oh, Commissioner Mayfield.
No, I didn't have any questions. I was just going to make a motion to approve the amendment to add a 5th county commissioner.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Beth, thank you.
I'm sorry, do we make it too easy, or? Okay, the next item is a discussion item on Lake Okeechobee water management operations. Mr. Daniels.
Yes, I'm sure everyone has read about the expansion of discharges coming out of the lake and into the waterway system, the St. Lucie Canal and other waterways. And I believe everybody's aware of the fact that, you know, it's we haven't had good experience with the discharges in the past, and I know even in when I was in Melbourne Beach, we actually had a huge problem with some of the discharges that came out. Stewart has already approved a letter to go to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, asking them to well, actually advising them of their stance that, they don't want to see any discharges, but if they do discharge, basically to go lightly. I think there is a letter in your packet for that. On your desk, I have a copy of a letter that I presented to the mayor tonight, and if you all like what's in that, I just think we need a consensus that the mayor can sign that letter and send it in. So.
Commissioner Kurzman, I forgot.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm okay with moving this, but there's another thing another House bill that I got an email today, I guess, from the Everglades organization, where now they have something where if something happens with the water, and we can no longer file a lawsuit against Big Sugar, it makes them exempt. And that's something I'd like to see if we could pass it along to possibly residents to see if they could sign the petition. This is something that it would be terrible if, it gives Sugar the right to do whatever they want, pretty much, without having to worry about getting sued. And it's a free pass, and we shouldn't allow that. And I'm in favor of anything that's good for the rivers, obviously, and especially stopping the discharges. And I'd like to make a motion to move that, and also to see if we could pass that petition along to see if we could have it signed by residents.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I saw that email, but I didn't get a chance to read it. I need to get more familiar with it, but that seems a little bit strange that they would be exempt from something like that. In the meantime, I was happy to see this letter. I meant to say something about it, so I think it's a great idea. So I support it.
I was curious. I talked to somebody who's a background in marine biology, and they told me that a certain amount of fresh water is not bad for the estuary from the standpoint of a salinity kind of thing. But of course, I don't really understand how much that might be. I might be opening the gates for 1 minute a year or something, probably be enough. But it's obvious that, especially in the summertime, it's a terrible time to open the gates. This time of the year, it's not great, but it's not as warm, so the chances of that green sludge we had several years ago are significantly less. But yeah, I support the letter as well. Vice Mayor Fender.
Do you need a motion to
Yeah, I
send
think
this
so.
forward?
I think a motion would make it stronger.
To your point, though, it isn't about freshwater, it's about the nitrogen and phosphates that are in the freshwater that's coming into our estuary
Yep.
from the lake.
Yeah.
So regardless, I'll make the motion to forcefully send this letter along with, in support of the city of Stewart and all people on the Treasure Coast to send a message to Army Corps of Engineers to stop the discharges.
I'll second the motion. And can I add one little thing?
Sure, go ahead.
The oceanographic director, Mark Perry, was talking about salinity or something in the fresh water and just the amount that comes in, that it was, 20 days, and then things start to die, that the river can handle. So maybe some fresh water is good, but to your point, you said the amount that's coming through, he obviously would know more than myself, but something like if it's under 20 days, the river can kind of handle it. After that, the salinity gets to a point where it's going to kill things.
Yeah, I think, but Vice Mayor Fender is right. It's the nitrogen, the phosphorus, that's really the problem. It's not the salinity so much. Okay, any other discussion?
No.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Tompe,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just adding on to Commissioner Kurzman's comments about the petition, I have not seen it as yet, but I'd be more than happy to weigh in on it. Obviously, I think it's going to be a good thing, but I just, without having you approve something that, number one, we don't have on the agenda, but number two, I just want to take a look at it and make sure that legal has seen it too, so.
What I'd like to do, forward to you, you could forward to legal and the other commissioners, and you could talk to everybody else and see if they're comfortable with it.
Great.
Okay, that brings us to Commission and staff closing comments. First one, is staff is Gallo Pavo, the updated draft. I don't see Chloe here.
No, she was out of town and was unable to make it. She does have in your packet a briefing from the legislative side. There is some legislation in there that's moving through, I believe it's the House on the Form 6 situation. And we also have our chart on the grants that we're working on. There was one grant that showed up in the last report that she had with a comment in there that we were denied because we weren't a mandatory connection town. Our project didn't call for mandatory connection. And
What was the amount?
that was a 4.5 million, I think. And that's if we, end up going to the gravity system is where we were looking for extra money. But we never officially were denied the grant. It just so happens the ones that have received the grant so far had mandatory connections. But my understanding, there's other dollars that are out there, so we're not out of the ballpark yet. So the spreadsheet that you see is different from the one that you had before because, I deal with facts, and that's what I explained that we need to deal with. And that's all I have on an explanation in reference to that. There are some other interesting legislative issues, so when you can go through that, and if you have any questions on those, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
What was the specifics about the Form 6?
The Form 6 is there's a House bill and a companion, I think it's a companion Senate bill, and one of them is going quicker than the other one, but it basically exempts small communities, but small communities is 500 or less. But my understanding is they're looking at that. There are some communities that have hired a lobbyist. They're not involved with a lawsuit, they're involved with a lobbyist, and there's some hope that that can get maybe expanded even to 5,000. So we'll just have to see what happens.
That'd be good.
Okay, great.
And if I may, under the comments, it's not on the agenda, but we are ready for our town attorney minute, if you can.
Yeah, just going back to the.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The update on the grants, I think it's reasonable to expect Chloe to be here once a month, and I'd ask you to strongly encourage her to do so.
I have explained that.
Mr. Torcivia.
1 minute. Well, I sent out a memo that had kind of the headlines of 4 recent cases. I think you've gotten that. But the most important one is, again, public record. Public record sunshine law, it seems like there are decisions coming out in that area almost every month. And this one just kind of reiterates that emails, text messages, even if you send them from your personal device, could be public records. In that case, people who had left office hadn't turned over their records, and the city was sued and criticized for not getting those records before those officials left office. So, again, it seems like every month there's a sunshine law public records case where the courts are being very strict. So you've all heard the presentation on this multiple times, just reiterating it. Just be very careful. If you can avoid using your personal device, avoid it. If you do use your personal device, a recommendation always forward whatever you do to the town, so the town can at least archive it and have a copy of whatever you did use on a text message or email.
Yeah, I took our ethics training a couple of weeks ago. It was really delightful, by the way. I'm sure you're all enjoying it.
Did you pass?
Yes, I did. But they highlighted that a couple of times, so when you take it, you won't forget it after that.
I guess I mentioned too, it's a good time, the Treasure Coast League, our firm will be doing the 4-hour mandatory training this year. I think it's at the April meeting. So if any of you want to throw tomatoes at me, I'll be there in April. We got public record, sunshine, and ethics. And I'll be joined by 2 of the other attorneys in the firm. That way they can help me catch the tomatoes.
Okay.
I'll find out. I'll be there.
That's great. Okay, Mr. Daniels, what else do you have tonight?
Okay, I've also, for everybody's review, I have the use agreement that we talked about for the rental of the commission chambers. And again, that's, if you have questions, you can contact me during the week or whenever. But I did want to make sure that you all had a copy of what we're using. Tomorrow is the State of the County address at Palm City, New Hope. And it starts at, the doors open at 8:15, and the program begins at 9 o'clock. I'll be attending tomorrow as well. We also had our legislative priorities are on your desk, just kind of a reminder of where we were before the legislative session started. You'll also see a document that's addressed to residents that are south of Ocean Boulevard. And, just one thing I wanted to say, there's a lot of feelings whether you live in the northern area of Sewell's Point or the southern area of Sewell's Point. And what I've been stressing, and I kind of explained this to the Charter Review Committee, I'm stressing that we were one Sewell's Point. Sometimes we talk about the northern area and we talk about the southern area. So this is addressed to residents that are south of Ocean Boulevard because they haven't had the opportunity of being able to connect to sewers. So it's kind of an educational piece, but it also gives us feedback on, the fact that, when they do have an opportunity, do they want to connect, or, and kind of give a time frame for that. So this way we can try to judge where we're at, and if somebody is in a desperate need to connect, that's helpful to know as well as we, plan and going along.
I'm sorry, who generated this?
This is kind of a joint effort between myself and CapTech, James Carnes, out of it, correct, Joe? Okay. So, and he pulled together the informational item because, not everybody's going to be able to get it with this first part, obviously, and then the second part, and then we got the last part. So we just thought that we'd try to give out as much information as we can to keep your system functioning while they wait for us to get the sewers to them. The Spotlight connection piece was out. I think probably most of you got that at your house. And then I think the last piece I have here is in reference to what they call the NPDES. And I also have a report on here that we have to fill out every year, but apparently our permit had expired for the, and basically this deals with our outfall lines and the amount that we discharge into the river after it's treated. But apparently from what I can figure out right now, a 2-month period that we were without a permit, and then, we're working to get that permit renewed, but we were fined, and the original amount was almost $3,000. Was able to work on negotiating that down to $1,800, and I'm still working on trying to get a waiver on that fee. But I did want to, put the packet together, kind of, I met with Jack and I met with Joe on it, and I want to make sure that we, as well as some of the other important dates that we have, I want to make sure that, when we do get the permit, the expiration date is something I want to make sure it's on our calendars, and making sure that this report, and you can see it's several pages on here, and it's, there's items on here like, the trash collection that we do of town property, how many pounds of trash do we pick up? So it gets very detailed, and they don't like to see us take an average or take, a guess. They want to see facts. So, we've got a process now that we're going through so we can factually report items like that. I think the question came up on the street sweeping, and that's really actually required under this permit, that we, the streets that do feed into the stormwater system need to be swept. And there's even some talk of having that increase. Now, I have a problem with the service that we have right now because I don't think it's being sufficient. It seems they move dirt around. So we're working on that. I've had a meeting at the county to see if maybe there's some opportunity there to, have them sweep our streets but apparently they have problems right now with just keeping up with the streets that they have to sweep. So I am meeting with Stewart to see if there's something that we can do on their end. There are some other private entities, one in Rio, that, we could go back out to bid and see what other opportunities that we have. But I do want to make sure that we have a service that's efficient and also effective. So, and that's kind of my goal. But I'm willing to answer any questions that y'all have on this, or if you, after you read through it, and if you have any questions, as always, just give me a call.
Is this an annual report, Bob?
This is an annual report. The permit is a 4-year permit that we get, and just the fee for the permit runs, I think it's $5,600. So it's, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it from Fort Pierce or not, but.
Yeah, I am. I just, when is it due?
Well, right now, we still don't have the permit in hand. We have to publish the fact that we're going for a renewal on our permit, and they're kind of treating it, since we lapsed for 2 months, as a new permit. So we're posting that, and we have to put it in the paper, and the public can comment to Tallahassee a 30-day period. And after the 30-day period, and however we resolve the penalty that they want us to pay, once we get that resolved, they'll give us a permit. And then that's where I'll put the date down, so we keep it, and we're supposed to reapply 180 days before that expiration date.
Okay, are there any other questions? Can you follow up on this with us?
Sure. I'll keep you in the loop, yes.
Okay.
And you'll notice, we did post it out here, the notice that has to show up in the paper and everything. It's on our board, and it's also on our website already.
Okay, commission comments? Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes, I know we are getting close to budget season, so I had meant to bring this up and I keep forgetting. And I park over there for the meeting sometimes, but those parking spots under the trees by the mailbox, they're kind of falling, they're getting smaller and smaller. And some of the ground is not
Joe,
really
I
there.
told you somebody would figure it out. No, I'm kidding.
Anyways, if there's room to refurbish those parking
Okay.
spots, I think they need it, so.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes, during the week, I spoke with Bob. There was a situation where my neighbor, my wife saw it, it looked like a guy that was doing surveying, knocked on the door, nobody answered, so he goes around the back of the house, reappears a few minutes later, and you don't know who these, and then all of a sudden he's in front of our house, we don't know what the heck he's doing. You go to talk to him, he didn't speak English, and, when I went out to get my sneakers to go around and talk, he was gone. And is there any way we could make them get permits if they're gonna be surveying, or some sort of identification or something, so we know who they are? The idea could be given by the town. I have no idea who these people are.
Well, they weren't part of any of the road work that we're doing. We are doing some survey work in the Phase 2 areas, as I explained, but, your area obviously was already, part of the Phase 1 project. And so, sometimes people are selling their houses and they have a survey crew that they have to get, but right now, and I don't know if we can, prohibit private enterprise from coming in without having some type of an ID.
Yeah, I'll look into that, but I don't think so, but I'll look into that. I'll look
Yeah,
into it.
you don't know who's coming in, and that's kind of what's going on. And when like I say, right after I questioned him, when I went to go put some shoes on, he was gone. He had a small, regular car with no markings or anything on it. And nobody knows who he is. And this is what, I mean, this is a great way to come in and rob somebody's house, is make like you're surveying.
Right. Well, that's why the best thing is just call the police department, and they'll come out and check them out when you see them.
Not the police department.
Well, okay,
Please, 911, that's the right number to call.
Yeah.
so,
Vice Mayor Fender.
Sure, thanks. A couple of quick things. Probably the hardest one would be just any kind of, bring me up to date if you know, anything that happened with 10 Oakwood Drive related to the flooding to the neighbor to the, I don't know what direction it is.
east, I believe,
Yeah.
yes. Well, and I talked to Jack about this, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, Jack, but we, as you know, 10 Oakwood is on our radar screens because of the trees. And that's another situation that Jack has been following up with them. But she feels that once the individual that's to the east, and I can't think of her name right off the top of my head.
Elizabeth
Yep.
Wilkinson.
That, they took out the hedge that was there, but the hedge was on the owner's property. But he is planning, as part of the survey, the landscape survey that we have, in putting another hedge that's in there for privacy. And she feels that once they pour concrete for the driveway, it's going to be a flooding problem. But it's a paver driveway, so they're not doing concrete. And my understanding is they're using the regular paver sand and not the sand that turns into concrete, which doesn't really do any good when you're looking for a porous porous driveway, basically. So from my understanding, this problem that she feels that she's going to have, I don't think is going to come to pass. But we have to wait and see what they're doing. They're still short some trees that they need to bring in, and so I'll be more happy to report back to the commission and to yourself, since I know you're directly involved in that.
Well, I just walk my dog by there every
Yes.
day, so I know it. And they are putting a porous type of material, or at least it's been there for a couple of weeks, but it's clearly 2 foot higher than her property. So I could see where, I haven't done any of the studies, but there's got to be a certain amount of rain that
Right.
that is going to overwhelm the porability of whatever you put there, right? So
Right.
at some point, it's going to roll down into her
And
yard.
his area is supposed to be patterned for the water to go towards his backyard, is where his retention for the water area is.
Okay, maybe, I don't see
So-
that, but.
But that's, again, those are things that Jack's watching for and making sure that at the end of the day, everything's done correctly.
Yeah, okay, good enough. I appreciate that. I was, just happened to stop into town hall today, and I talked to the chief, and I noticed she had a big box of goodies there, so it looks like planning is underway for the Easter egg extravaganza.
Yes.
So excited to hear about that, and glad you guys are keeping that tradition alive. So thanks for all the hard work you do, chief, and Bob.
The chief's doing most of the work, so she gets the credit. And we're also working on the Arbor Day celebration on
Oh, good.
April 27th, I believe is the date.
Awesome. And I also was not privy to or missed the lead up to the coffee shop across the thing over the weekend, so I was interested in that. I just want to again restate that I was a total proponent of it, even though I didn't know it was happening, so count me as a yes vote for whatever caused that to happen. Did anybody get in trouble for it?
I don't know what you're talking about. Not at all.
They had
The
apparently a
Guggen
coffee truck
House. Go
that
ahead.
was at the park on,
Sunday, it was parked in the parking garage of the park, and it was awesome.
The one that's at Fresh Market. Is that the one?
It's green in color, blue.
Yeah, the Guggen, which
Yeah,
is
it's
on US 1, but I've
This
seen
was a
it.
smaller version.
Yeah, I've seen it at Fresh
got a big
Market.
one, but this-
Oh.
Yeah, they were Fresh
I haven't
Market the
seen it
other
here.
day.
Okay.
if you're wanting something, want to start allowing food trucks and stuff over there, you're going to need to pass a law to let that happen. Right now, it'd be a violation of our ordinances.
Whatever happened-
And that'll be something I'll be addressing with our officers. I will say that when people have private parties there, somebody has a wedding or a kid's birthday party, if they want the Kona Ice guy to come with their party to sell, to serve to their people, they do that. But we don't allow food trucks to set up camp in the
I was
park.
just interested in how it ended up there.
Apparently, they took it upon themselves to just park there.
Did they get kicked out?
I can honestly tell you, I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, okay, all right. Unfortunately, they were closed when I went by in the morning after running, because I would have bought a cup of coffee, but
Then you would have known. Well, wire you up next time
And lastly, I think the Marathon of the Treasure Coast is running this Sunday. I'm not involved, but I probably will run it, so.
Good.
Thanks for all the effort and support from the officers who make that event possible.
Sunday? Is it Sunday?
Yes.
Sunday morning. So expect traffic issues Sunday morning, and watch for runners.
Commissioner Kurzman.
Yes, what Frank was mentioning, when you have a driveway like that and the property's lower, one of the things you could do, even though the driveway's porous, it's not going to stop the neighbor from flooding. Regardless, what happens, water's still going to go from west to east over here. Nothing's going to stop it. The one thing you can do, that I would suggest, is if you put pavers, in other words, the pavers right here, let's say like the tabletop right here would be flat. What they do is they make like an edge, maybe about 6 inches high. That would keep the water to pitch into the yard instead of the next door neighbor having to suffer all the water. So what they got to do is put a line along with the driveway as it goes back. Once again, I came from the hilly region, and that you were required to do that. So the neighbor wouldn't have to go and get flooded down. And it keeps the water and directs it strictly to his yard. It's not going to, 100% of the water will go there. The neighbor will be dry, no matter how heavy the rain is, and that's not going to change. But you probably want to go at least 6 inches high of some sort of paver that would stick higher. It almost makes it look like a curb, and the curb will direct it right into the back. But the curb should only go on the neighbor's side, not the other side. Otherwise, it's going to wind up going the other way, and it'll wind up going in the street possibly, because his grass is still going to pitch out to the front. So you want to pitch in one direction, and that's where he's retaining the water, so the neighbor doesn't flood out. That's the easy suggestion I could give you on it. That's, if you could look into that.
I'll let the engineers decide the best way to approach it, but Joe taught me one time that you could put perforated corrugated pipe underground to collect water and run it the way you want it to run it, so maybe an underground retention.
But it has to be able to sit there. It can't just run across. A lot of times you
Gotta
have
go
to
down.
it runs.
I don't know, let them do it. They're good at it.
Okay, I have a couple of items on my mind tonight. The first one is I think we need to open a dialogue about how we're going to handle maintenance of our stormwater system. You know, based on our stormwater projects, we're adding significant infrastructure that's going to require maintenance so the system will work when it's needed. Maintenance includes outfalls, in-ground storage, pumps, and drains that need to be clear. This is critical. We're spending millions and millions of dollars on the engineering, design, construction. If we don't spend it on the maintenance, we've wasted our money. We really need to make sure these systems work. So I think we need to figure out how we want to fund the cost of the maintenance. You know, we could fund it under, our general revenue fund, or have it come out of general revenue. We could set up a special restricted account, or establish a stormwater utility as a separate account. What I'd like to do is to get the opinions of my fellow commissioners and see if we can provide some direction to staff about what we'd like them to do. And since Commissioner Mayfield talked about the budget, I think it's time to start looking at this prior to trying to make decisions about it during the budget. You know, one of the things that during his presentations to the residents, Joe's talked about, CapTech has talked about the, potential of a stormwater utility, and other municipalities and counties have something similar to that. So, I'm concerned that, the cost of this is expensive now. It's going to be much more expensive because we're expanding the infrastructure. So we need to figure out how to pay for this. And I think maybe the best place to start would be to get some projections about what we think the costs are going to be, running out maybe 5 years, and then figure out what we can do. But I'd like to see what you all think about that. Commissioner Mayfield?
Yeah, I've mentioned in the past that I think a stormwater utility fee makes sense. I'm not saying that's the best thing we need to do, but it makes sense. We have these new systems. It's just taking care of what you own, taking care of your house, essentially. But maybe if it's easy for staff to do like the different scenarios, you mentioned a few options, like we could look at the scenarios and go from there. Kind of like when we were trying to figure out how to start attacking this road project and got the different scenarios for how we were going to attempt to make it work. So I think it's a good idea, Mayor.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yeah, like you said, we need the cost first. Once we get the cost, we can figure out how to budget it or how to pay for it. It's something I've said since day one. We do the project, we're going to have to continue to maintain the project. It's not going to take care of itself automatically. This is something we got to look long-term. Even with the outfalls, in the past, we were negligent about trimming mangroves that were around pipes. The longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. Joe will probably tell you about how much it cost, but I remember it might have been about 6 years ago, there was a situation where we had to really do some heavy cutting with the mangroves, and it wound up costing 5 times more because it kept getting put off year after year after year to where you couldn't put it off anymore. It's something we'd have to stay on top of on a regular basis, but we need a cost before we do anything. We could attack it with at least an estimate.
Well, I think if it's okay with everybody here, we can go ahead and direct Bob and staff to start looking at this and maybe put together a plan with some options for us to look at, and hopefully we can get that done in, a month or 6 weeks or whatever, at least a preliminary plan, and then we can figure out how we want to do that.
Sounds
That's
great.
okay with everybody here? Okay. The second item I have has to do with a conversation I had with Jack last week concerning a lot, and I don't know what the address is on North Sewell's Point Road, that was clear cut, one of our favorite subjects. It's my understanding that a fine was collected, but I don't think that's the point here. If the fine is of little consequence to the owner, the question becomes, how do we control owners and contractors to meet their permit requirements? The fact that clear cut the property, and he may have a very extensive, plan for the future, we're still going to be in a mess for however long that takes to get that done. And of course, it takes time for that to grow in to be as lush and as nice as we want it to. Jack mentioned to me, and I think it's a good idea, is that in the future they may be marking or segregating trees that, and Jack, if I'm saying anything out of turn, please jump up and say, no, I didn't say that, you idiot, okay. They actually go to the property and, put a little fence or something around a specific tree that they don't want cut down so that they can clear cut it in the future. And I think that's a great idea. But I'm wondering if there's anything else that we can do, should we be increasing the fines to make it more, the idea here is not to collect fines, and I understand that. We don't want to collect fines. We want them to behave themselves and leave some of the trees on the property. Do we want to increase the fines? Do we want to fine the general contractor? Is there anything that we want to do different? Because it seems that this isn't the first time it's happened, and, if $16,000 doesn't bother you, well, then we need to do something different, is the way I look at it. Vice Mayor Fender?
Sure. So I was not aware of the situation until you made me aware of it at the beginning of this meeting. But I guess I would ask Jack about the history of this particular project. When was the permit provided in order for them to do any kind of work on the lot? And was it before or after the mitigation plan ordinance we put in place based on the 10 Oakwood Drive scenario? Because sure, I don't know that $16,000 is going to buy a replacement tree, and I don't know what was clear cut, but I don't like the term. But I would assume there's a mitigation plan and a landscape plan to put some replacement vegetation in there, and not bushes, but trees that are going to maintain the aesthetic quality of our community, which is a tree city. So maybe you can educate me on,
Sorry,
What
Jack, I
happened?
didn't mean to put you on the spot here, you know, but
He puts himself on the spot sometimes.
Yes, I do, sorry. Good evening, Jack Reisinger, building official. The lot in question is actually 140 North Sewell's Point Road. The lot wasn't completely clear cut, but a majority of the trees were removed. The majority of the trees were actually on the footprint of the house. They did submit a plan, a landscape plan, and they also submitted the new rain retention plan to the CapTech, and that was our first one that we actually had go through that new process. They put some regulations on putting berm around the whole property, double silt barriers and gravel entranceway, all of that in place. And on top of it, as they were clearing, getting ready to put in the silt barriers and everything else like that, they removed the other trees. This happened, you know, at a blink of an eye. Those other trees were just gone. I showed up, hey, what happened? They explained to me that the owner didn't like those trees. So while they were there removing the trees that they were allowed to remove, they also took out the other ones too. We stopped the job. We were scheduling them for the hearing. The ordinance says that they have to pay the fine, or they would go before the magistrate for a hearing. They opted to just pay the fine. They then came in within a couple days, paid the fine, and then went on their way to actually continue with their mitigation plans for the water retention control for the construction phase. So they're technically still in the pre-construction phase. They have
I'm
not
interested in
been,
mitigation is really my question.
what's that?
The ordinance we put in most recently was about mitigation and making sure
They-
there's a mitigation plan.
They have an extensive landscape plan,
Okay,
which, what I was told, and it looks like it too, it's at least $100,000 worth of trees.
okay.
So it's a very extensive, it's supposed to be lush, but we'll see when it gets to that point.
Okay.
But they're quite a ways away. Again, they still haven't even been actually issued a building
All right.
permit yet.
I'm interested in canopy, right, so, yeah.
Well, they did save the big oak tree out front, which I'm
Okay.
grateful for that. So there is a big oak at the front of by the roadside there.
Okay,
So they did say that, but a couple other ones, you know, unless I stood there the whole time,
yeah.
I don't know, unless we put a bond up for the property prior to them ever doing anything, I don't know if we'd even be allowed to do that, I don't know. But again, these things happen, you see the equipment there, you know they're supposed to take out those certain trees, and then you come back and the other ones are gone too, so.
yeah, it just occurred to me, I don't know if there's any, and I wasn't trying to blame anybody for it, other than
Well, we know who
the guy who
yeah,
did it, okay?
Right.
But I wonder if there's anything else that we think we can do to discourage their lack of
Because
attention here.
I've established another procedure on top of that one with another builder, and he's wrapping all of the trees that are to stay before they start removing the ones that are to go. And I'm monitoring that one closely.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. Okay, just something I wanted the commission to be aware of, and if you have any ideas about how we can be nastier, we'd like to know about them. Thank you, Jeff. I guess one other quick item, Bob, I wanted to thank you, you know, based on the last meeting, we talked a little bit about communications, and boy, we had a lot of emails and that kind of thing, and I appreciate it. No, it's good to set that, you know, get that motion going. And I guess the Charter Review Committee has finished meeting. Are they one more meeting?
No, they're done. We had their last meeting yesterday because HB was going out of town, so we were going to be doing it before this meeting. So my plan is at the March meeting, we'll have their final report for you to look at.
Okay, great. Commissioner Kurzman, you have anything else?
Yeah, I have a question for council, so going back on the tree subject. If somebody takes a tree down, and let's say it's a 20-inch girth, can we require them to do at least 50% of the girth, if not all of the girth, legally?
The girth?
The girth of the tree.
Caliper.
Caliper.
I think our ordinance, I've got to look back at it, but I think it requires for.
Inch for inch.
Inch for inch, right. The wider it is, the bigger they've got to replace. So I'm not sure what that plan says. Jack says it's a lush plan, so taking that to mean they're going to replace it with a canopy that hopefully is better than what was there.
Yeah, because like I say, if somebody's going to cut down a 100-year-old oak with a girth that's 20 inches,
Right.
I'd like to see these people not just pay the fine, but now bring in a new tree that was the same size, and it'll teach them to cut down a tree, and it'll set an example to everybody at that point.
They can bring in a 20-inch tree or 7 3-inch trees. Doesn't say it has to be a 20-inch.
Okay, do we have any other comments or questions?
What is the, on the legislative update, there's something about trees on residential property. Do you know that one? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I saw that bill, and apparently it's not going anywhere, unfortunately. But it was basically rescinding the language that, we're against in reference to the trees, that if they get an arborist to say that it's a dangerous tree, then they don't even have to get a permit from us. We asked them to get a permit anyhow, just so we have it, and it cuts down on the complaints that they get from the neighbors.
And you said it's doing nothing?
Pardon me?
It's doing
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going anywhere.
Okay.
So,
Can we still require them to replace that tree with a healthy tree?
what tree?
If somebody cuts down a tree that an arborist says is no good or is sick, and they can cut it down.
It depends on how many trees they have on their property. They have to still have the minimum requirement for trees, depending on the size of their property.
Okay, anything else? If not, motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. Oh.
Thank you.